Jumping over to the other chat.
I guess I'm
All
already
right,
there.
good luck.
More than anything. Okay.
All right, I'm good to go.
BRB. Okay.
Well, that was that slowed us down a little bit, but we're back up to where we were, where we left them off. We've got
Yes. So they're moving pretty fast right now with a lot of upgrades. We just saw Saxony take his bolster down to deploy. So be seeing some mechs out of him very soon. And it looks like we're dealing with a incoming upgrade from Rusviet and Tagawa as well.
Gawa, of course, with that trade action over the
So on that next produce, we'll be looking at. Oh, I see. So they already upgraded their enlist action. And now we're on to Crimea, who has 3 food.
Hey, Heart to Grin, can you see the stream all right? Everything's showing up for you? Good, I just can't see you guys are, just can't see how many people are watching. But that's all right, I don't need to.
So as soon as Crimea is back, I'd say we're likely to see a produce out of them to get that first enlistment on the board.
Oh, did Crimea have to step away?
Yeah, just briefly here.
Okay. So yeah, we've got
the 5 worker mark.
it's a pretty standard Crimea mechanical opening. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of people go with a different one, to be honest. To just produce that one time, trade for 2 food, to produce a second time, get you that first enlist, and get you to 5 workers.
Yeah. Although it may be tempting to get that mech turn 2, it's a lot safer to get an enlistment on the table.
Yeah, make sure you don't miss any combat cards, especially with Tagawa already upgrading the enlist with 1 food on the table. Crimea wants to get those enlists out as quick as that first enlist out as quick as possible, and they're gonna beat Rusviet without any trouble. So Rusviet's gonna miss some combat cards from Tagawa in all likelihood.
So there's that produce, 5 workers, first enlistment, going for combat cards. And now Saxony deploying a mech.
Yeah. What do you think about going for that update or that upgrade first to Saxony?
So it shows me he's definitely going to upgrade again because he's got to have that triple move to be competitive. Getting the bolster and probably not intending to build any buildings is kind of telling he just wants to fight. Now,
so Rusviet's up to 2 produces right now. He's got 2 oil on the board as well. We're going to see a mech out of him next. Tagawa just did another. What did Tagawa do here?
It looks like a produce to upgrade. So they've spent that oil while making their second food.
They can't. Oh yeah, produce to upgrade because he's got the engineering board.
Yes. So this move that he's likely to do next will get him his first enlistment.
And Crimea trading for 2 metal here, which is a pretty standard next move because that's going to allow him with one of his combat cards to turn around, bolster, and build a mech, probably a speed mech on his village to distribute those workers.
Yeah, that'll definitely be getting his engine going, getting those workers onto the farm and iron tiles.
And you mentioned getting that upgraded move to make Saxony competitive. I think that's even more important for Saxony in this game because his bolster, which he upgraded, is over his build, which typically with Saxony Innovative, you don't think about them building. You think about them wanting to rush the game with low power. So that upgraded move is really important to let them use as many combat cards as possible.
I agree. And I guess when it comes to if you're gonna get 2 upgrades, you might as well grab the power, because really you don't have any intentions of trading for pop or producing on 3 tiles. You could debatably get the 2 combat cards, but this is a fine move, I think. Trade for 2 food.
That's
Oh,
interesting.
so the metal goes back and we switch to food. So I think he'd prefer to get another enlistment before building that mech, it seems.
That's a little bit awkward, isn't it? Because his next produce is just going to give him 1 additional food. I guess he uses the combat card.
Yeah, he's gonna coerce that second enlistment.
We got our
Ooh,
first
so
encounter.
Saxony potentially doing option 3 here. That looks really good to me if I'm Sax, but can't go wrong with coins.
I mean, if you're going 0 pop, it's going to be really hard to turn down 5 resources. But
So he
there's a
has a
good
lot to think about with 5 resources if that's what he ends up doing. Which ones does he take? And how does that play into his future turns here? Because we could be seeing some combat very soon if he plans it right.
All right.
Looks like he
Looks
took
like you
2
picked number
coins.
2.
Ah, okay. So hey, 2 power and 2 pop, is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, 2
That's
power and 2
very strong.
popularity.
So keeps the option alive of a tier 2 game.
Way to Rusviet.
Okay.
So here's where we see a mech deploy out of Rusviet, trading those 2 metal to probably put the Riverwalk mech on the village. No, he's
Yeah,
gonna go. He's gonna go 8 workers.
Oh, spicy, as Rail himself would say.
Yes, he would.
So with 8 workers, where do you think he goes next?
He's going to the farm.
Okay, so we're gonna see that Riverwalk mech most likely.
I think he turns around and trades for 1 metal, and then either a food or a second metal. I'm trying to remember here. He's gonna have 7 workers on the farm. I think he trades for a metal into food next, because that's going to get him to
Then he
8
can-
food after 1 produce. And with that upgrade, he'll have enough for all his enlists. Hey, Heart to Grin, Rusviet's got the agricultural board, which is why we were saying he's probably going to use that upgrade to upgrade his bolster and his enlist
Oh my.
and trade for a metal and a food so that with 1 produce, he can get enough food for all his enlists.
So
Oh
that was
my.
quite an interesting move from Tagawa here. They moved all of their pieces onto the farm and put a trap there. So definitely looking to enlist 4 times, or in the near future, if you're Tagawa.
So we got an 8 worker mechanical board. What do you think about that?
I did not expect that. And it looks like they really just wanted to rush out enlistments. So I'm curious. They do intend to produce 2 more times, right? That's going to be a hefty cost
Yeah.
at a power, a pop, and a coin each time. We'll
Yeah.
see how that works out with them potentially going tier 2 later in the game. Because getting to 7 pop all the way from 1 is very different than a 5 worker strategy.
Saxony electing to produce, going to deploy another mech. Let's see which one they go with before we move on to Rusviet.
I have a feeling we're about to see. Oh, you know what? That was not a deploy, so he needs 1 more iron.
Oh, he did not have that on the board before he selected produce. Okay. So we see Riverwalk, which I think was expected. And he went with another metal. I thought he might go with another food, but he trades for an extra metal.
There's that 2 food.
It's gonna leave him it's gonna leave Rusviet 1 food short, isn't it?
Well, if you're Rusviet, you have this upgrade coming your way. He could throw that down onto.
Crimea trades for 2 metal.
Okay, so now that
Saxony trades into an upgrade.
So what Crimea was able to do by getting rushing that second enlist was get the enlistment bonus for mechs.
What did what happened there? It skipped Rusviet's turn and Tagawa's turn straight to Crimea.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, we got a move upgrade out of Rusviet. We're gonna put it in chat.
I
Got a
wonder
move
if it
and an
just
enlist out of Tagawa.
potentially hit end turn multiple times at once.
Maybe so. Let's see what Rusviet upgrades here. Of course, we'll have this enlist to look at, or this
Ooh, that
encounter
two
to look at
food.
first.
Two
Yeah,
food could fix their problems there.
yeah, yeah. You got to go with that number one. That saves you. That saves you a trade action.
I agree.
Oh, he goes number
Ooh, he
two.
chooses two. Let's see what that is.
Builds the
Build
structure.
a structure. Do you think he's going for the monument?
Got
He
to be the
is.
monument.
So we're looking at tier 2 for Rusty at this game. You want to get that monument if you're going to repetitively bolster, which he certainly will. Wow.
And he's going
So
to
maybe
be
he doesn't really care.
bolstering more than he's going to be producing.
True.
And like we thought, he upgraded his bolster up here. He upgraded the enlist. But now, one produce is going to give him 7 food. But you know what?
Tagawa with the enlistment just in time.
Go with the move enlist. Gets off of
An
food.
encounter of his own.
He just wanted that early enlist. Probably, yeah, that combat card enlist.
Because you'll be seeing 4 from your right and 2 more from your left. I think that's a good
This is
move
actually
by him.
Tagawa's second enlist. This game is really flying, so.
Oh, correct. Ah, nice find there. So Tagawa, short on power, finds plenty of it in this encounter. But that third option actually really tempting.
Where's this encounter?
Okay, so he took option 2, which is going to be 4 power for 2 coin. I like that if I'm Tagawa, you are susceptible to early invasion, but
Here it
now at
is.
6 power, it's looking far less tempting if you're Saxony.
Yeah. That's going to
We'll
prevent,
see if he
that
ends
should
up
prevent
trapping this tile.
an early rush. I think you've got to trap the tile, right?
Maybe the power gave him a little bit of extra security to where he felt like he could hold off. Save it for the tunnel, perhaps, and maybe the factory later on.
Saxony did produce last turn, so didn't he?
He traded last turn. I think we're seeing the
He did
produce
trade.
deploy now.
So
So he's
now,
got 5 workers, 2 mechs, and a underpass.
so now he can hit Tagawa next turn, and Tagawa can't move this turn. So there's
Oh,
no
we do actually
option.
see that trap come out.
Oh, okay. Trap comes out late. What do we get out of Rusvia to produce?
Yeah, I got a lot of food on the table.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So Crimea took the speed mech and now is putting the majority of their workers. Oh, I guess it's half and half here. 4 and 4, farm and iron. And we're probably going to see that encounter.
And Tagawa doubled their workers there with a produce action, it looks like.
Wow, okay.
It's a lot of words
So
just keeping up with this game. These are a lot
they
of
have fast
experienced
players, yeah.
TTS players who they don't waste time. All right, that third option is pay 2 popularity to gain 2 combat cards and 3 power. That one isn't showing up on stream quite right.
Yeah, so far,
Are you tempted by that third option? Do you have the pop to spare with 8 workers?
I'm going to say no. You can't afford to do that. Everyone else is trying to hold on to pop and will be in tier 2 this game from the looks of it so far. You don't want to be left behind. And while combat cards seem nice, you've got all the food you need. I think you just take the option 1.
Yeah. Kind of a lackluster encounter if you're Crimea.
Would have been much nicer, perhaps, if they had 5 workers instead of 8. Okay, movement from Saxony here. How did he get to the forest? Oh, he changed from. He took Riverwalk, it seems.
Instead of underpass.
Maybe he saw the trap did come out
He
and went
is
looking
going
for
to
a walk.
build buildings. He upgraded that bolster because he intends to use it. He's going to run an economy game and he's going to build buildings.
Well, if your opponents look tough to engage with and you don't quite have that combat advantage you thought, buildings is nice over your bolster. 2 coin, 3 power.
Especially if you have an objective or two that lends itself to buildings.
Yes, perhaps that'll get him more than a star.
We've got
If
another
you
encounter
are
incoming
Saxony,
from
that third
Saxony.
option is nice because you don't have access to food at all, and here's the chance to get 4 food. It will set you back 2 pop, but you could bounce right back up with that enlistment. So he's got the opportunity to instantly spend the food should he take it.
Gritty Willis, I don't think I've ever built a star. Are you harping on a misspeak there, Gritty Willis? Did one of us say built a star?
Oh my goodness.
What'd he go with?
He spent 4 coin and has a third mech.
And he did go underpass. So maybe he's planning to do both, to rush the game with combats and go economy.
I don't know if I. So that's confusing to me because he is planning to produce multiple more times and produces over his deploy action.
So if you're Rusviet here, the fact that you traded for that metal instead of a wood means you can't do all 4 of your enlists. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to move back onto metal, right? You're going to have to produce some metal for the rest of your mechs and then trade for and then maybe in that produce get a food. He's got to pick
Well,
up 1 more food.
right. So he needs 4 metal and 8 food. He has, let's see, 7 total food thus far and 2 metal.
You don't
Is there
have
a way
to
out?
go all 4 mechs with agricultural as Rusviet. But the fact that he's 1 food short without a produce or a trade makes me think he's might be going all 4 mechs. He might have to be creating some more metal for himself. We got a produce action out of Crimea. We're going to dump a bunch of resources on the board. They didn't put the food out on the board because they used it immediately.
Okay,
Elected
4
not to spend
max.
a card.
Early star. The one thing I do like about this Saxony position here is that the second someone steps on a tunnel, they can get slammed with a massive attack here with disarm, multiple combat cards. They are looking dangerous.
This is a high power game though. I mean, we've got Tagawa with that encounter. Sitting on the engineering board. We've got Rusviet with the agricultural board, which of course is power heavy with that bolster over enlist. We've got Crimea with their bolster over deploy, sitting on a good bit of power. This is not going to be an easy game for Saxony to just bleed everybody dry and get 3 or 4 combats. Even with disarm, it might be difficult.
Right. But looking at maybe 1 or 2 combats where he outnumbers the opponent on top of the tunnel, I think that could be enough to get to 6 stars, especially if you've got a fair amount of pop, some buildings coming your way. You're going to have more power available to you. So we're already back to Tagawa. We saw a bolster enlist out of Russ and a 8 worker produce
All
for
right.
Tagawa. Wow. So lots of workers on the table thus far.
Tagawa's not messing around. They're going to go all 8 workers here with this engineering board.
Oh, we saw the early objective as well, Foundations of the Empire. So they completed that by having 8 workers on a single tile, only needing 6.
I would love to get that encounter every single game.
Oh, it's a nice one. Suits well in most strategies that are effective as well.
It's just, I mean, there aren't that many strategies where the worker star doesn't make sense because You're going to need 5 workers in most cases, if not 8. And it's only one more action to get to 8. If that action can also give you an objective, that's just gold.
Okay, so we know Sax has got to be moving this turn. If he doesn't move, he's building a building. Where do you think he goes should he choose to move? Are you worried if you're, Tagawa or Crimea, for example?
I'm really not. I'm sitting on power. If I'm Crimea, I have 4 combat cards. If I'm Tagawa, I'm guessing that I put down that combat card trap or power trap, which means I think Saxony gets severely limited. I'm a little bit more worried if I'm Tagawa than if I'm Crimea because I don't have Shinobi. I do have 2 metals sitting on the board, which means I can turn around my next turn and build Shinobi and then counterattack. But if Sax is headed this way, he's headed this way with 3 mechs. So my ability to counterattack is questionable even with all of my combat cards.
I think, however, this early, stepping on a trap and putting 3 max over there just for 1 star is maybe not the look you're going for if you're Saxony.
I'm reticent to do it if I'm Saxony because it could set my game back. I mean, if that's a power trap or a combat card trap, I'm looking at cutting, severely limiting my ability. But if I'm going to build these buildings and use this bolster action, maybe I'm getting a lot of power and I'm not as worried about it.
At the same time, you do feel this ticking clock if you're Saxony. You don't have any enlistments. You can't quite compete in a long game with boards like engineering and agricultural. Where do you see your stars coming from in the near future? I think maybe he's looking to put 3 workers on a village, maybe grab some central territory, be ready for a factory move. We'll see now.
What is Crimea upgrading? Did they just upgrade their upgrade?
They did, I believe.
Saxony did go bolster build. So they put a mill on that wood space, which means they're looking to move at least 1 worker off of that wood space somewhere else, either to spread out or maybe get another resource. Like, I mean, where do you move that worker to? Do you move it onto that?
You're either going
farm?
to go for oil or you're going to get your worker star, in my opinion.
That makes sense. So here we see a trade for Rusviet, and this is, see how he handles the awkward nature of it here.
He's pulling out a produce action.
Well, he is going to produce.
Oh my
Monopolize
goodness,
the
he
market.
Wow.
Okay,
9
so
tokens.
this explains why he traded for metal early on instead of for food like we thought, because he knew he was going to have to produce again in order to get his objective.
Good.
So food was not going to be an issue. He needed the metal.
Well, that's one way to do it. So we've seen 3 objectives, right?
Tagawa trades and deploys. We do see him pull out Shinobi. So he is, he probably does have an eye towards Saxony. And that gives Saxony something to think about, because now if you hit Tagawa, Tagawa can hit you right back with 2 units. Saxony is up to 6 power now. It handle pretty much any
His
kind
actions, Saxony's actions thus far tell me he's probably just going to look to control the center of the board, not so much pick fights. He could have played very differently. We see him at 5 popularity and he's trying to build. So perhaps we see just a different kind of Saxony this game.
How do you feel about the economy-based innovative Saxony?
It's definitely something I'm not used to seeing, but it does look to have merit. So if you're really spread out like Saxony can be, have a lot of mobility, you're going to have a big multiplier being in a higher tier of popularity there.
Okay, Crimea's sitting on 8 metal right now. I mean, are you rethinking going for Crimea if you're Saxony right now? That 8 metal?
Potentially, but you're too far away from that iron tunnel or the actual farm tunnel to
Because
strike.
he did move off his mountain, so
Right.
he
So he would have
he
had to
can't reach it
have,
anymore.
yeah, maybe a move from now I would consider. But ooh, even still.
So he just moved. Oh, he just moved off his mountain this turn. So he is gonna go. He is gonna go for that worker star, like you mentioned. He is gonna pick up
Okay,
some more
I think
wood.
we're looking at an objective incoming. That might explain the movement here. But yes, he's looking at a produce very soon.
Probably another bolster enlist out of Rusviet. He may. Oh, did you see Saxony move this mech to this village tunnel to block Tagawa?
Yes, so he took 2 villages and he moved his main character to the farm tunnel.
Okay,
I
so you're
think that's a
thinking
good move. Going right in front of Tagawa, but I wonder if it's objective based.
maybe population advantage with the 3 villages.
Correct, because he very well will be picking up this holding another easy village territory or even moving his main character down a space if he doesn't go to the factory.
So Saxony in this game and Rusviet in this game and Crimea are all risking potential elimination from the tournament. It bears mentioning. So Tagawa is the only one who's already through. Crimea has to get first or he's done. Whereas Rusviet and Saxony can walk away with a second place finish and still stay alive in this tournament. So one of the things we might see at some point is one of these players playing with an eye towards second to slow somebody down or to.
My goodness, we have got to talk about this move. Did you see this coming?
We got one worker on wood and a lot of workers on food. I mean, he wants the rest of those enlists,
Yeah,
but he's going to have way more food than he needs.
because he's putting 7 workers on top of the farm there, but he only needs 4 food to star that enlistment. It's very interesting.
He's probably going for another upgrade, I would suppose, because he only has one worker on that wood spot. I mean, he does have Shinobi, so it wouldn't be difficult the next time he can move to shift a significant numbers of workers up to the wood. Crimea's going to deploy that second mech, going to put it on that metal tile, probably conscious of the fact that Saxony can attack him.
Yeah, if you're Saxony, you're no longer considering taking that medal. 3 characters, 3 defensive units on that is quite tough to topple.
And
okay, another star for Saxony. 8 workers. We're all tied at 2s here. Combination of objectives. Everyone has 8 workers. And then Saxony with 4 mechs.
I feel like this game might be moving a little fast for Rusviet here.
Well, I'd say it's moving fast in many ways. We're already round 12, I believe.
So Rusviet pays 4 food.
He finishes.
I guess he forgot to take food off last turn.
That's perhaps right. So he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 food left. He produced twice.
And Rail's a big believer in the fact that resources give you points. So I'm sure he doesn't mind sitting on additional resources.
Well, his popularity tier as well. A coin for every resource, essentially, is what we're looking at there.
He's awkwardly 2 power short of that power star. So it'll be interesting to see if he spends another turn bolstering to 16 power. And here's the produce incoming from Tagawa. We've got that 7 food. I mean, no one can reach that spot. It's as safe as it can be.
Yeah, he's really missing that power star potentially because if he had it, he's just looking at 2 combats for the win.
Saxony?
Now, you can't really get
Oh,
2
Rustviet.
combats without another mech or 2, but still, it's very scary to see Rustviet at 16 power.
Because we've got that objective star, we've got that worker star, the enlist. Yeah, he could get by with one more mech. Saxony's sitting on that tunnel.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't.
He needs speed, though. He's gotta have speed to start engaging.
He's got 3 metal sitting on his mountain. He can get speed without any trouble. We could see a produce action out of Rustviet, followed by a trade action, and then a couple of moves to end the game.
The more I've seen this game unfold, I'm very worried if I'm Tagawa, and I'm feeling like I made really good decisions if I'm Saxony. People have pretty much stayed home, not taken very many risks, and focused on producing. So building an engine of your own, that was a good call. But Tagawa sitting at 1 popularity, not a lot of power. It's tough.
If
Kind of
I'm
kind of locked in.
if I'm Saxony, if you're Saxony and you need second place to move on to this tournament, are you at a point where you start thinking about whether it's time to abandon your path to 6 stars and just start spreading your workers and getting to tier 2?
Well, what we're going to see right now, I believe, is taking a lot of territory and just getting your score high. Should the game end early, you might be safe. Ooh, that's a big pop hit if you want to leave your base now for Crimea. So claims their home base territories, moves to the oil tunnel, takes the factory.
And yeah. And he put his workers in a place that's adjacent to 2 more encounter spaces, which the building bonus is adjacency to encounter spaces. So if
Oh
he's going
my
to turn
goodness.
around and build there, that's another.
Yeah, because that mill was very well placed, being adjacent to 3.
So that's an interesting card for Saxony because that looks like he's still got unfinished business with an engine. That he thinks he has time to build some more buildings, get some more coin, get that build star, get some
I
more
like that
power.
actually. You've got the cards to spare. You need 3 wood to keep producing
Mm-hmm.
buildings. So why not just pay a card instead of a power, a pop, and a coin?
What's Russ's popularity at? He's at 9.
He is flying high at 9 right now. The only one in tier 2, but you have Saxony and Crimea not far behind. I really like that tunnel movement from Saxony, though. You know, Crimea cares about their 5 popularity. They're not going to be quick to start a fight there.
And there's Tagawa using Shinobi like we thought they might to move more workers to that wood spot. It feels like Tagawa's engine's just taking too much time to develop. Let's take a quick look at the coin here. Tagawa's sitting on 8. We've got Rustviet at 13. Crimea's got 18. And Saxony's at 7. So Crimea's not spread out, and it's going to be difficult for Crimea to spread out, but at least they've got some coin. Of course, they're sitting on that 9 bid. And remember, to move ahead, Crimea has to get first. Anything short of first eliminates Crimea from this tournament.
Yeah, they want to move out, and they want to move out soon. So will they be locked into tier 1 in order to do so, or do they
Do we see Wayfair here?
wait and get that Wayfair mech?
Looks like he is
Okay,
going to go
there
with
it
Wayfair.
is. Kind of forced his hand there.
In true TTS fashion, he will not drop down to tier 1.
Well, he still does have to find 2 more pops somehow. He's got that building enlistment, and that's going to come in handy, especially with Tagawa now about to pump out who knows how much wood.
I mean, he could trade. He could trade for an up. He upgraded his upgrade, so he's planning on doing more
Oh, he
upgrades.
took a wood for himself. Crimea, that is.
That is interesting.
Okay, so Saxony is showing us he wants on enlistment. He's going to move to take one. He probably is looking for 2 more pop. He can't quite get it out of this card, but he can pay 2 to get 3 of any resource. That's pretty tempting. You get that wood you need. Oh my goodness, I'm wrong again. He goes with option 1.
So he takes the combat card and the popularity.
Yeah, so the food does have to go um, with a worker, so I think that's valid. Are they pinging for a different reason?
There is a worker there. Oh, it's got to go on the encounter space. What they're telling him up here with the character.
I think that came from the factory card.
Did the food come from the factory card, or was that the wood? One of the two came from the factory card. I'll jump over to their chat real quick.
Don't worry yet.
You guys got it worked out?
Oh yeah,
We're,
we're,
we're just we're just playing around.
pushing buttons we shouldn't
Yeah,
be pushing.
yeah.
All right, all good. All right, I'm back.
So Rustfeed on the move. He's going to pick up an encounter here and take a lot of units over to his iron mine.
See, I'm not sure if I'm Rustviet. I mean, if you're Rustviet at this point, you've got a lot of coin. You've got Relentless, so you can spread out really easily. Do you mess around with more mechs? Or do you just get your Power Star, hit Saxony on the tunnel, and then turn around and maybe hit Saxony's character if it's still in reach? Just spread out looking for that other combat.
I think you really, really want to finish that power star and then start fighting. I
Yeah.
do not think you want to be producing here. So we'll see what he does next, but right now he's got an encounter coming. He can't quite get the power here, so we might be looking at paying for resources.
Which one
He
is
could-
it?
It's 2 coins for 4 metal,
Okay.
3 pop for a mech, or take 2 coin and 1 pop. He's probably tempted by option 2. That metal would be useful to him. He could get People's Army, which helps him seal the deal in combats. He already has Riverwalk, so
I mean,
he's 1 turn away from fighting, potentially.
2 metals enough to get that mech star. And, you know, if you do get that mech star, you can end the game with 1 combat. But you'd like to spread out a little bit more, I think. And with Saxony blocking your Riverwalk, you've either got to go through Saxony or you've got to get Township based on where you've put yourself. So I guess you get the mech star, you move to the factory, you attack Saxony with the power star, and that's curtains, right? He's going to go with that
Option
metal.
2. This was definitely like a plan changer, I believe, because he didn't leave any workers behind. He meant to bring them all to oil. He wanted oil. So now maybe we'll see something different.
I have to think, I mean, do you think he was planning to produce oil, or do you think he's
I
just
do.
bringing the workers with him so that when he goes through Saxony, he can start spreading out with those workers?
You have plenty of workers to still spread with while claiming territories behind you. So
Yeah, he didn't
For
leave a worker on the
example,
village.
that just shows me maybe he wanted to produce until he saw that encounter. Tagawa here, maybe a little nervous to produce. We'll see what ends up happening. Oh, here comes the wood.
I mean, like we talked about, Saxony went for that food with the factory card. So he's probably looking to pick up more popularity, which means he probably doesn't want to take the pop hit from Tagawa.
Yeah, you probably won't see a combat there. What I do think we're gonna see is, so we're looking at move, pick up an encounter, then enlist. Maybe try to get to tier 2 without enlisting the popularity bonus. Maybe he takes coin, maybe he takes some power instead.
Who do you like in this game right now?
Saxony's my favorite in terms of board position. I think though Rusviet is looking the strongest. Um, I'm worried about Tagawa. I think they're in a tough spot. Crimea is locked in until they get some. Oh my goodness! Look at this potential combat here.
He's changed his mind because why go Wayfair and not Scout if you were just going to attack Saxony? This was not the plan.
Perhaps the clock is taking the pressures on with with Rusviet ready to leave his base. I do agree with you though. Wayfair, if you take Wayfair to preserve your popularity, you don't want to be changing the game plan last second.
Change his mind. He is going to Wayfair. Going to go up to this wood spot up here in Nordic's base. It's the awkward thing with Rusviet in the game using Wayfair is there's nowhere you can go as Crimea that Saxony can't reach you.
Mm-hmm.
Although this Saxony doesn't seem particularly committed to picking up stars through combat, so that's probably not a huge concern.
He is not looking to take a pop hit of 5, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
He really wants one more pop. I definitely think we're going to see tier 2 Saxony. And it looks like tier 2 Crimea is definitely a hopeful. What is
So we
that?
got this mechanical board. It's a mill.
Oh, he builds a building, gets him to.
He's got the
6
one
pop.
wood, and he's upgraded his building once. So with the combat card, he can build a mill.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna put it on that wood spot.
I don't think I agree with that choice for a few reasons, but do you really want to produce again?
He does, because he wants to build buildings.
I'm just curious, like how they think there's enough time for that. Maybe this game goes long, but we are on round 15. You can see a 3-star finish in the near future for Rusviet.
Yeah. Well, Rusviet's got to trade twice to get their max star, so that's 2 turns. They've got to bolster once to get the power star, and then they've going to have to attack. So you're looking at 4 turns for Rusviet. I don't see Rusviet ending this before turn 18.
Conversely, they could bolster, move for game.
That is true, but with going with that encounter with the 4 metal, I doubt that's the plan, don't you?
I agree with you. We're going to see a mech coming out. Might as well finish it off with a star. But again, that power at 14, so close but so far. If you're Saxony, maybe you really wish. No. I guess.
Chad asks what factory card. I think Saxony's the only one who's been to the factory, so yeah, it's the combat card for 3 resources. That was the question.
Mm-hmm.
Mia's still thinking, I guess. We've only seen the one move out of Mia. Although he moved some workers to that spot, didn't he?
Yeah, so I'm actually curious how all the workers got there.
Yeah.
So he had a mech on the farm, correct? And it flew away with more workers
Yeah,
than
I need to ask about this move. I'll be back.
Hi.
Okay, so we're Joey and I are looking for this. If it's not final, that's fine, but we're looking for this move to be explained because there were 4 workers on the farm.
This mech moves to the food here and brings all the worker. This mech that was originally here goes homeward and then to the wood. This worker here goes here.
All right, I got it. Thanks.
Saxony at 6 pop, Tagawa at 1, Rusviet at 9.
Okay, so the key, Joy, that was throwing us off is the mech that's on the mountain moved the workers to the farm and then came back to the mountain. The worker that was on the farm took the workers to the wood spot, and then a worker on his own jump to the metal spot.
Very good.
So it's Saxony's turn.
So running through the coin totals, Crimea has a substantial 22 compared to the next highest being 12 in Tagawa and 11 in Rusviet.
Yeah, Crimea to hit tier 2 and expand out and get territory and just stall the game. Keep Rusviet from being able to end it. And it might work.
This move from Saxony, they're holding more territory, including the factory to tier 2 pop right now.
I mean,
if you're Crimea, you really want Tagawa to build on their next turn. You want them to make a building, get you into tier 2. You don't have to sweat as much anymore about your multipliers. You just have to focus on getting a lot of coin, spreading out.
And you just got an encounter for Saxony, so you're probably looking to take option 1 and move into that second tier. Although you have options because you have the 3 food, you can get the popularity bonus off the enlist.
Based on how it's gone so far, I wouldn't be surprised if they take the option 1 and choose to take the pop bonus from the enlistment.
So why the 1 worker on the factory? I mean, that doesn't do much. Rusviet's sitting on 9 popularity. He doesn't care about a worker.
So what it does is it lets him move his mech off the factory and still hold the territory. So I think he's showing us he wants to use that iron space and then hop in a tunnel, perhaps.
Okay. But you know, if Rusviet decides that he wants to end this game, he's going for that factory. I guess.
Yes. I would say that by the time Rusviet can use Township, that mech is likely gone.
So you don't hold the factory, but you don't give Rusviet a combat either.
Yeah, you just hold it down with that lone worker. And Rusviet needs combat, so they're going to have to search for them, and they won't find one from you, at least, at the factory. That's my guess. We'll see what actually happens.
Saxony pays $2 to gain 4 food. That's what option 2 is right there.
Right. He could have taken the 2 coin 1 pop, but yeah, 2 for 4 food. Got it. But now he's just going to enlist. And I don't know if he's chosen his bonus already. Oh, he did. He took combat cards. Wow.
That's not what we expected.
Not at all. You wonder if he's just really comfortable right now with the board and doesn't see the urgency. But I am surprised. Okay, so we had a bolster enlist from Rusviet. That's a star for power. The enlist was empty since he's already done 4 of those.
Right.
He spent the food anyway just for the coin, which you definitely want to do that.
And the combat card.
Correct.
Wow.
I mean, okay, so
from Rusviet can just trade for the Township mech and then double hit Saxony on the factory and the village, and the game's over.
This is true. Yeah, I mean, so that's 2 turns potentially.
He doesn't need the.
He only needs 1 combat if he maxes out his mechs, but I'm not sure we'll see that.
Yeah, but I mean, why not take 2 combats? Because Saxony's sitting on 5 power. You have a lot of cards with your Rusviet. There's a good chance you can win 2 combats, even if you aren't sitting on 5s. And if you move and you only do the 1 combat, you pick up that village and you pick up the factory. You pick up an extra territory if you do 2 combats. So instead of trading for 2 mechs and then on the 3rd turn doing 1 combat, why not trade for 1 mech and then just knock out 2 combats?
If I'm Rusviet, I don't even wait. I got my power star just now. I'm going to move to that village tunnel, win a fight. Next turn, move even more tiles, pick up another fight. I think you want this game to be over, and you want to take a lot of territory while you do that. Waiting, playing it safer, that's certainly an option. But like you said, there are some lower power fights available for you. You might as well go out there and finish this game.
That's actually the same number of turns. You could trade for the mech and then take 2 combats next turn. Or he could do 1 combat and then another combat.
True. But the amount of ground you'll be able to cover with 2 moves will give you many more points in terms of territories.
That's a good point. Well, you have the 2 move actions, so you move Saxony is going to build armory. Put it on that oil tunnel for the additional building bonuses. So if you're Rustviet, you have 2 moves. So you move 1 to the village tunnel. You move workers onto the village and the farm up above that doesn't have the monument for the first move. You bring enough workers so that for the next move you can drop one on that mountain on your way to the factory, and I suppose move the other mech up at the top to claim a little bit more territory. You pick up 1 more territory. You can't get 2.
Let's look at Crimea really quick. They just jumped up to 8 popularity with their neighbors having built recently.
Mm-hmm.
They did bolster, which netted them a monument bonus. They changed that mill to a monument. So they're solidly in tier 2 now, and they have 4 mechs.
I'm
So we
not
might
sure.
be seeing. Go ahead.
I'm not sure Rustviet wants to rush this game right now. I mean, look at all the resources he's sitting on. He's at 11 popularity. I say that, and here he is. He's going to use those resources to make a mech. So he goes township.
He is now on 13 pop. He is in tier 3. Rustviet at the max tier of popularity, and Tagawa holding down the tunnels. Wow. So that is clearly a move to expand your own territory and slow things down. You do not want people running around the tunnels.
Of course, in this game, it really hurts you as Tagawa to only be in tier 1.
Yes, it does.
I mean, that's 6 coins instead of 9 right there.
Gosh, if you're Crimea, that move happened, just, oh my goodness. They jump up to 4 pop all of a sudden. We saw that from the enlistment bonus.
Yes.
That move came just in time, or just the wrong time if you're Crimea, because you wanted to move onto that tunnel and get out there. So now you have to kick a worker off on your way to doing that.
So Crimea can move. And he can move toward the Rustviet's farm, in fact. Dropping a worker on that tundra and bringing several workers with him to that farm. He wants to expand out. But his build is underneath this move, so maybe he wants to get wood first, but you're not sure if you're Crimea that this isn't the last turn. Now, I don't think Rustviet's going to end it because he's only got 1 combat that he can pick up without losing popularity, and it sure looks like he thinks he has to be in tier 3.
So we see a Wayfarer to the far corner. You got to imagine he wanted to take that northern oil tunnel, but now maybe will not. Perhaps he does go to that farm.
Yeah, I think you spread out that way if you're Crimea.
Oh,
Yeah, there it is.
Does he bring another worker? Looks like no.
Surely you do, because Russ is sitting on 13 pop. You're giving Russ a combat there. That's exactly what Russ needs, is 2 combats with no popularity loss.
You do got to be careful there. My.
He's going to leave. He's leaving those workers that's on wood. It's that he thinks this game...
a combat down south. Combat on the oil tunnel.
That's the first one in this game. This has been a very, very peaceful game.
Crimea's taking the tunnel and going to 7 pop. That is interesting. I do not like their hanging mech up there. Rustviet needs 2 combats, and now they can get 2 combats. Oh my, 6 stars.
We lost track of the star count. That was Crimea's last star.
We saw higher ground advantage just now by Crimea to end the game.
So that's why Crimea didn't bring the worker, because it didn't matter.
Yeah, they claimed 2 mountain their 3rd mountain territory that turn for their 6th star.
Wow. We were so focused on Rustviet that we didn't see Crimea was about to end the game. So what are we looking at here?
It really hurts if you're Rustviet. You're on 2-3 territories. You hoped for more. My goodness. I'll be really excited to see the scores come in here. Oh, and Saxony at 6 pop. He maybe really wishes he took that different encounter option there.
Yeah, Saxony waited too long to get into tier 2. Let's hop back over into their chat.
Sure.
Tier 3. Oh man, I fucked up.
Yeah, I'm pretty nervous. Bro, you're sleeping. You might be last.
Am I last?
You might be.
Yeah.
Quite the game.
He's got 2.
Got
Make
some
some big
resources.
mistakes.
Crimea caught us by surprise. Did you
Caught me
guys
by surprise too.
did you guys see that coming?
76.
No,
Wait,
I,
oh yeah,
I
Rail,
was
what
not
was your
communicating
bid?
that. It's 13.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've had tier 2 doctrines with that. Too lobby.
So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 territories. One, 2, 3, 4, 10 resources.
Saxony had a 0 bid, right?
Yeah.
Wow, I take
50.
third. Good job.
No, you're
And it,
last.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
you're last.
the bid
I'm
fees are
third.
gonna change that.
Oh, okay, either way, I'm out.
Tagawa's in
Azor also out though.
Gawa in
Because we're at the
second.
same points. We're both 6.
We take second with Tagawa, baby. Let's go.
Good job, guys.
GG's.
Damn.
Right, guys.
Just
game.
curious here, what would the Saxony score be at tier 2?
That would be huge. The territory is massive.
So
55.
just
Wow.
with the stream here, we've got Crimea Mechanical in first place. In second place, we've got Tagawa Engineering with that 2-coin bid. In third place with a 0-coin bid, we've got Saxony Innovative, and Rusviet pulls up the rear with 38 coins after subtracting the 13.
Surprise ending. That was very
Yeah,
good.
that was well played there.
We were sitting there incredulous that Crimea had left a mech on the farm with no worker on it, giving Rusviet potentially a second free combat with no popularity loss. And then suddenly the notification popped up that the game had ended, and we were a bit surprised.
I was definitely counting on another move, but I totally forgot about his objective.
Wayfarer for the territory.
Wayfarer for the win.
Well played, everybody.
Well
I wonder if it would have gone different if Azor did not block me here. Then I might have moved up, grabbed this encounter, and I'd be in a much different position.
Okay. All right, guys. Well played. Everybody in the stream, thanks for watching, and have a great night.
Let's record the score.
Thanks for doing that, guys.